Being British colonies, the colonies were affected by the events in Britain. And in the mid 1600s in Britain, there was a lot of turmoil throughout, all the way up until about 1688. During the mid-century in England, because of a lot of the conflicts, the colonies were largely left on their own. And because they were left on their own, they largely developed their own political institutions, the New England Town Meetings and the House of Burgess and so forth. All of these colonial assemblies benefited from what's known as salutary neglect. The British largely left the colonies alone, and as long as they were not causing problems, they could really run their own institutions. After about a century, in 1688, King James was overthrown in what's known as the Glorious Revolution, and he's replaced by William and Mary. And William and Mary were forced to sign the English Bill of Rights in order to take the throne. The document reaffirmed all of the rights of Englishmen we talked about before, the right to only be taxed by your representatives, the trial by jury, religious freedom, and most importantly, in Britain, they were forced to accept the supremacy of the British Parliament, meaning the governing body of England. And it's during this time period, in order to support this system, a guy named John Locke develops. And he's an enlightened philosopher. This Enlightenment period gives rise to a lot of the ideals that our country is founded on, the United States. Locke had two main ideas that we need to be aware of because they find their way into the Declaration of Independence. The first is the concept that we all have natural rights. And these rights, according to John Locke, are life, liberty, and property. Now this changes a little bit in the Declaration of Independence. But he also has a concept known as the social contract theory. And in the social contract theory, there's two parts to this. The first is that government is instituted among people in order to protect those natural rights. So we give up some of our freedoms in order to have our natural rights protected. Locke then said that the government's purpose is to protect those rights. And if the government stops protecting those rights, then we can overthrow the government and start a new one. In other words, this is the idea of the consent to the governed. The people are the governed, and therefore the government has to protect the rights of the people. If it stops protecting those rights, the people can overthrow the government and create a new one. So the government really rests on the will of the people.